Good afternoon and welcome to the first of 4 flat track shows in the Maxxis live action arena at the East of England Showground in Peterborough. It's round 2 of the 2017 DTRA National Flat Track Championship, staged across the first day of the MCN Festival weekend. Currently on track are the riders from the Hooligan Championship parading their machines ahead of the second round of their series, the first having taken place out in the Netherlands. Meanwhile, for the National Championship riders, it was the significantly smaller short track at Rye House for round 1. Aidan Collins got the better of reigning champion Alan Birtwistle and USA-bound Oliver Brindley, the 3 fastest performers from 2016, again making it onto the podium. Fast-rising Toby Hales and former champion Peter Boast, who was unlucky at round 1, will be the other riders to watch, to add some extra spice to what is always one of the most well-attended events of the UK flat track calendar. International rider Michael Dijkstra is back after an 8th place finish at round 1, and Johnny Lewis and James Rispoli join as wildcards. Both grew up through the AMA flat track scene, so their appearance gives the rising British talent an opportunity to rub shoulders with some of the best from the USA. The main focus in championship terms will be the duel between the 2 most recent British champions, Alan Birtwistle and Aidan Collins, as we prepare to get underway with round 2 of the 2017 Maxxis DTRA National Flat Track Championship. The first of 3 rounds of heats in the Pro class here this afternoon for round 2 of the 2017 DTRA UK National Flat Track Championship. And the riders settling in here. Off the front row, we've got the number 11, Gary Birtwistle, Leia Toe Club on the 37 alongside. Off the middle row, watch out for Peter Boast, one of 3 former national champions taking part here today. On the inside of him, directly on the inside, Alan Birtwistle, the reigning champion on the number 1. James Rispoli on the front row there on the number 43 bike. As we get underway, not a great break from the number 37, Leia Toe Club, who's the only one really to miss out off the front row. Alan Birtwistle making good progress through from the middle row. He's immediately up into 2nd place. Rispoli challenging around the outside line for P2. Peter Boast further back through the order, making an inside pass going into turn number 3 as Rispoli runs wide and loses 2 places. And Alan Birtwistle hits the front. And it's now Birtwistle 1 and 2 with Alan Birtwistle in 1st, Gary Birtwistle in 2nd, but under pressure. Good races going on for 2nd and 4th positions as Gary Birtwistle starts to get swallowed up by the field here, 1 either side of him. Brother Alan's making the break up front, almost 3 wide for 2nd position. James Rispoli on the number 43 bike, just trying to nudge through on the inside line. He started to slip back now from that challenge for 2nd position. Peter Boast making the inside dive, comes through for 5th place, and he's now leading the 2nd group. You can see that he's coated in material from trying to work his way and weave his way through the lower order riders as the race continues for 2nd place, and a good one as well. Obviously we have several invited riders for what's a festival of flat track this weekend, and among them Johnny Lewis on the number 10 bike, who has now managed to find his way past Gary Birtwistle. And now up the inside comes Rispoli, so Gary Birtwistle, after defending his position well for a good few laps there, has held up 2 of the favourites for this race and enabled Alan Birtwistle to escape away. Alan then leading into the final lap. The reigning champion, who took 2 heat wins at the opening round in Rye House and finished 2nd to Aidan Collins, sets down a good marker in his opening ride as he comes around the final 2 turns. And towards the checkered flag, it's Alan Birtwistle who becomes the first Pro Class heat winner here today. 2nd position over the line is the number 10, Johnny Lewis, and James Rispoli 3rd. The early story of that race was Gary Birtwistle making the start, but he slipped backwards through the field. Alan Birtwistle up the inside of him by the end of the opening lap, already leading. Good progress from the number 1. And we'll see how his championship rival Aidan Collins gets on next time out in race number 18. But a very strong start for Alan Birtwistle on the number 1 bike, and he comes round now for your applause. Your race winner in heat 17, Alan Birtwistle. Well, some competition provided there by both Rispoli and Johnny Lewis, but they weren't able to keep up with the reigning champion Alan Birtwistle, who was faster in working his way through the traffic and getting to the front. And Gary Birtwistle with a good ride there as he eventually slipped back from 2nd to 4th position. The group behind, led by Peter Boast,
another former champion alongside Alan Birtwistle, of course, and he cut his way through up into 5th position. Now moving on then to race number 18. This is the second of the round 1 heat races in the pro class. Aidan Collins is the rider to watch here, the number 90. Trying to regain his number 1 plate in 2017. He's slotting in off the front row. Directly on the inside of him there, the 581 of Michael Dijkstra, who's one of the riders who competed in the FIM Flattrack Cup last season. Took part in the first round of the DTRA campaign at Ryehouse and was one of the heat winners, finishing eventually in 8th position, 8 championship points to his name. Directly on the inside of him, the 98 of Richard Mason. Looking to the outside of that front row for the number 90, Aidan Collins. Let's see what kind of break Collins can make. Pretty good one, but a good one as well from Richard Mason. And we got a faller on the first turn and riders scrambling to avoid. And a little bit of a protest going on as well. I think that might have been the 25, Alex Wigg, and we got another faller there on turn 3. Is that Kai Fort who's gone down? I think it is. Race continuing for the moment under yellow flags. Battles further back through the order as the young charger Toby Hales tries to come through. The number 20 working his way through traffic, but it's Aidan Collins who leads. The chaos of the opening lap was a pair of fallers. Second position still with the 98 Richard Mason. Third is with Michael Dijkstra of the Netherlands, one of those wildcard riders that I was talking about taking part in this 2017 campaign. Competed with fellow FIM Flattrack Cup rider Wilfred de Lestra at the opening round of the season. Both of those international riders making it into the top 10, but neither of them able to make it up to challenge with the likes of Collins and Birtwistle, and that's again the case here. It's Aidan Collins looking comfortable on his way towards the checkered flag. He does excel here at Peterborough, won superbly last season in the DTRA round here. Battle going on further down the order. I talked earlier on about Toby Hales making his way through. He's now challenging for 3rd position, so this is a good recovery from him. He's on the tail of Michael Dijkstra here of the Netherlands. As they come towards the final lap now, Hales seems to have the momentum. Dijkstra has the inside line. He's going to make it as tough as possible here for Hales, who once again will look wider coming around the pit turn. He's going to try and run all the way around the outside, but he loses his footing. Dijkstra firm on the inside line, and Hales possibly should have tried something a little bit different because he tried the outside line on the previous lap and it didn't work for him. Dijkstra riding a perfect defensive inside line. He didn't have the pace advantage, but he holds on for 3rd position. The rest of the pack filtering through to take the checkered flag. Vince Hurst, Richard May in a close battle there with the number 70, Richard Roden. I think Roden just nudging ahead over the finish line, and eventually the number 40, Kai Ford, comes over the line to take the checkered flag. So 2 fallers on the opening lap, shaking up the order somewhat, but it was all about the former champion Aidan Collins fighting his way through and towards the front. He makes his way back towards the pits. Michael Dijkstra just coming round on a lap of honour there. A good race for him from 3rd position, but he couldn't live up to the pace of Aidan Collins. So our 2 most recent British champions, Alan Birtwistle and Aidan Collins, have got off to the best possible start in the opening round of heat races here at Peterborough, each taking the checkered flag. But the interesting thing in the remaining 2 rounds of heats will be to see how they get on moving their way through the field when they start from the lower reaches of the grid. And once we've got all of the points in, obviously, then we'll start to look towards our finals. Moving back to the pro class, round number 2 of the heats here. Off the front row then, we've got the number 42, Tom Clemens, alongside the number 10, Johnny Lewis, who finished 2nd first time out. Aidan Collins goes off the middle row, the number 90. Richard Roden completing that front row on the outside, the number 70. And directly alongside Aidan Collins, Kai Fort on the number 40 bike, who had that fall first time out. He currently sits outside of the provisional qualification positions. Getting underway with heat 21. Good start from the middle row for Aidan Collins, immediately up into 4th position, just taking the shortest route around the first 2 turns, and Collins from the middle row straight up into the lead by the time they exit the pits bend. And the others were in error there, running off the curb and leaving Collins with the inside run. He loves to make the inside passes, and he loves to lead from the end of the opening lap, which is what he's doing here. Collins, who made the break superbly in Rye House, first out of the start almost every time. In fact, his back row grid slot at Rye House, he came through from the back row to lead by the end of the opening lap. Collins loses his footing there slightly on turns 3 and 4. He is under some pressure here from Johnny Lewis, who sits up in second place. Finished runner-up first time out, so Collins will stretch his lead at the top of the point standings if he can win this one. Collins and Birtwistle, the two winners in the opening round of heats, don't meet until heat 25. As we get closer and closer for the race leading positions. Collins out in front, Lewis in second position. Lewis made a real error there on the first 2 turns, running wider on the exit of the second bend, but he's certainly got the pace advantage over Aidan Collins. Now Collins will favour the inside. He will force Lewis to run the longer way around the circuit. Lewis might be able to get the cut back though if Collins leaves him a bit too much room. He is locking up slightly coming off the second bend as he tries to find his way past, and it's still Aidan Collins who leads. Little more than a bike length between these two. Closest race for the lead that we've seen so far this afternoon as they come into the final lap. Dropping back slightly there from second position, Johnny Lewis coming off turn number 4. And that's given Aidan Collins a bit of breathing room as he comes down the back straight. He's going to meet lap traffic. Not sure if that'll be before the finish line though. Aidan Collins holds on, mastery of the inside line. A perfect start from Aidan Collins gives him the checkered flag there. Good ride from Johnny Lewis in second position. Over the line in third, it's Richard Mason. Another strong day from him. Richard Roden getting the better of Tom Clements. And further back, Alex Wigg and Kai Fort, the fallers from round number 1, picking up some more valuable points further down the field at the expense of Mike Hill and then Scott Faulkner, who comes over just behind. But a round of applause, please, for the top 2 in that one. Heat number 21, Aidan Collins and Johnny Lewis, with an excellent race for those leading positions. Lewis left the inside run open coming off turn 2, and Collins loves to sit on the inside line, keep up his momentum and force his rivals to work hard. Lewis certainly worked hard, but he couldn't get there, and it's Aidan Collins who makes it 2 wins out of 2 and exerts further pressure on Alan Birtwistle, who will appear for his second ride next time out in heat 22. Moving on now then to the 4th Pro Class race of the afternoon, heat 22. Alan Birtwistle lines up here, and this will be his back row grid slot as well. So Alan Birtwistle due to line up on the inside of the back row. He's got to try and keep pace with Aidan Collins. It's not just about making those top 12 positions and qualifying through to the final. It's also crucial to try and get the best possible gate position for the final, which will be decided by seeding order based on points from their heats. So even though it already looks like Aidan Collins is through on 30 points, he will want to have first choice of starting position when we get to the final. Here we go then with the full lineup. Toby Hales, Peter Most and Richard May on the front row. The middle row, Vince Hurst, Leah Toklov and Sam Hurst. Just slotting in the number 581 here, Michael Dijkstra. And then off the back row, Alan Birtwistle is the rider to watch. Gary Birtwistle alongside him off the outside of that back row. Got a bit of a full start issue there. And it's the number 46 who is stranded on the line. The others making their way safely around though, as we've got a faller, curse of the commentator there. We've got a faller, Vince Hurst, I think that is coming off the second bend, the number 95. Toby Hales has made the initial break. The rider scrabbling inside and out of Peter Most at the moment, trying to come through. The number 54 now relegated down to 3rd position, now down to 4th. They're going either side of him. This is a disaster for Peter Most. He's dropped 2 positions there coming down the home straight with Alan Birtwistle now up to 3rd position. It's Toby Hales who leads the way. Second place with James Rispoli. They're still going either direction on Peter Most, who was a strong performer at Rye House, but looks a little bit off the pace so far here today. Boasty dropping back then through the field, at the moment sitting in 5th position but under attack. That's where the race is, coming off turn number 4. Boast holding the inside line, and for the moment holding the position as well, with Sam Hurst challenging and getting through off the pits bend, and Boast slips further down the field. He now drops to 6th position. Toby Hales has made the break. Alan Birtwistle, the reigning champion, going after him, but unless he can make that overtake, It looks as though he will drop behind Aidan Collins in the point standings, and that's exactly what Collins wants, because he's got his back row grid slot still to come this afternoon. Good race now for 4th position. Sam Hurst getting the better of Gary Birtwistle, or maybe not. Birtwistle back around the outside as they head into the final lap. The number 11 versus the 116, Gary Birtwistle against Sam Hurst. What a ride this is from Toby Hales. He made the start off the inside of the front row and powered away to the checkered flag. Alan Birtwistle home for 2nd. Good pursuit from further down the order. Sam Hurst with a really good ride there, making the pass on Peter Boast and Gary Birtwistle. Well, the drama of the early stages of the race was Peter Boast slipping back through the field, the former champion off the front row, and he had some real tough competition. But riders like Sam Hurst, Gary Birtwistle, he's certainly beaten before. Boast, who was unlucky to drop back in the points at the opening round in Rye House after a fall in the final, had some points to make up here this afternoon, but that race certainly didn't go his way. Race number 22, the 4th of the Pro Class races here this afternoon. Alan Birtwistle suffering his first defeat of the day, and he comes in behind Aidan Collins then after the opening 2 rounds of heat races in the Pro Class. Well, we'll be back with you live at the Maxxis Live Action Arena here this afternoon, with the action in the 2nd show of the day starting at 2:30, and of course live on our Facebook page as well, so do check in for all of the live action, and of course you can review all of the action from this opening show of the day live on Facebook as well. The completion of 2 rounds of heat races then in both the hooligan and the pro classes. The 3rd round of heat races taking place this afternoon, along with the final, which is where the championship points will be awarded. In the pro class, it's former champion Aidan Collins who leads reigning champion Alan Birtwistle. So a look at the standings in the pro class after their 4th race of the day, and it's Aidan Collins who leads the way at the moment. Alan Birtwistle 3 points in arrears of him on 27. Johnny Lewis and Toby Hales on 24 points apiece, and Richard Mason rounds out the top 5 as we come out onto the circuit for heat number 25 now. And looking at the front row, it's Alan Birtwistle who has his front row grid slot, and it's Aidan Collins who'll be going off the back row. So watch out here for the progress of Aidan Collins. The front row will feature Vince Hurst, who suffered that fall earlier on here today. Daniel Kafka on the inside of him. We've got Jamie Courtney and Alan Birtwistle completing that front row. The middle row, Tom Clemens, Richard Mason, Mike Hill and Michael Dijkstra from the Netherlands. And the back row, Kai Fort, Toby Hales, Aidan Collins and Peter Boast. Getting underway then with heat 25. Alan Birtwistle will take the fastest start from the outside. Aidan Collins from the back row has immediately gone up to the outside, passes the FIM rider. He's going to try and fire his way through to 2nd place. Aidan Collins from the back row already up into P2. Now, has he got the answer to Alan Birtwistle to maintain his unbeaten run? Collins with 2 race victories in his opening 2 rides. Birtwistle, defeated last time out by Toby Hales, sits in the leading position, having come from the front row. And talking about Toby Hales, he's challenging on the outside of Vince Hurst and moves through for 3rd position. So 3 of the top 4 in the point standings coming into this one sit in the top 3 positions here. Alan Birtwistle leading Aidan Collins. Toby Hales in 3rd place. Richard Mason has also found his way past Vince Hurst to move up into 4th position. Hurst battling back in 5th. It's Dijkstra behind in 6th position. Peter Boast challenging for 8th, comes through for 8th actually, down the inside into turn 3. So a good move from Boasty. Vince Hurst keeping up the pace here with Richard Mason in the race for 4th position, and then a separate battle over 6th place where Michael Dijkstra just running wide there coming off turn number 2. He's in need of a lot of points if he wants to make it through to the final, and we've not got a last chance qualifier race as we usually do in the DTRA format for riders to try and get through to the final in the knockout phase. There's no such thing here this afternoon, so it's all about picking up points regularly during the heat stages as they come into the final lap then. It's Alan Birtwistle in front, Aidan Collins in 2nd, Toby Hales almost into the safety fence down the home straight. 4th position, it's Richard Mason, 5th Vince Hurst, Dijkstra in 6th position, and now Peter Boast challenging for 7th, and that's the most likely passing manoeuvre to be made on this final lap as Alan Birtwistle comes home to get the better of Aidan Collins and draw things level at the top of the point standings. Richard Mason with a good ride. Peterborough just missing out in the run down to the line with Tom Clemens holding on. So whether that will be enough for Peterborough to remain in the top 12 remains to be seen. He sat in 11th position coming into that one with Tom Clemens on the same points total, 15 points. So that's really important in terms of the battle for qualification to the final. A one-wheel celebration from Alan Birtwistle, who certainly enjoys stunt action alongside his racing in the DTRA Championship. First defeat of the afternoon for Aidan Collins, but no great surprises perhaps, as he had to come off the back row, and that was always going to be a tough ask for him. Still with some excellent damage limitation. He and Alan Birtwistle will move through, joint as top seeds for the final. That's the first news coming out of the final round of the heat races here in Peterborough. Next up will be Heat 26. So we've seen Collins and Birtwistle guarantee their places on the front row of the grid for the final. It'll be Johnny Lewis looking to do the same in this one. He sits on 24 heat points coming into the race. That was tied with Toby Hales before that last one, Heat 25. So we'll see how Johnny Lewis gets on here. Alex Wigg on the inside of the front row, Scott Faulkner alongside, and Sam Hurst completing that front row. The middle row, we have Richard Roden already lined up, James Rispoli due alongside him, and Roden actually being moved out of the start position that wasn't his own. Gary Birtwistle due on the inside of him. Those riders now settling in. We've got Johnny Lewis on the back row alongside Leah Toklov and Richard May. Getting underway then with heat number 26. Sam Hurst with the break from the outside. Alex Wigg straight up into second position. There's bunching in the mid-pack as Richard Roden gets sent wide, and he ends up dropping down into 5th or possibly 6th position as they go 3 wide coming into turn 3, and somehow all manage to get around the bend. It's Sam Hurst in front then. And with a very strong start, but he's got 2 hard chargers. A couple of the Star Pro riders here today tucked in right behind him. And not behind him for long. Sam Hurst relegated then down to 2nd position. Johnny Lewis also trying to make the move, gets up the inside. It's Rispoli from Lewis and Hurst. Things coming alive in this 3rd round of the heat races with Rispoli and Lewis side by side coming down the back straight. Looking to the inside line, it's Johnny Lewis. To the outside line, it's James Rispoli. Both have been double-figure scorers in each of their 2 rides so far. It's almost exhibition stuff as they show off the alternative racing lines inside and out, and drop Sam Hurst, who sits in 3rd position. This would still be an important result for Sam Hurst, who would book his place in the final with this result. As Lewis just looks over his shoulder, set for his first race victory at the moment. Rispoli dropping back slightly from P2. This would still be enough for him to qualify to the final here this afternoon, and there's going to be a couple of regular DTRA riders dropping out before the final stage here this afternoon. They will still score 3, 2 and 1, the top 3 riders who don't make the final, but that will be little consolation compared to the 20 championship points on offer to the winner here today. Could it be this man, the guest rider Johnny Lewis, who takes the checkered flag, his first race victory of the afternoon, ahead of James Rispoli in 2nd position. 3rd over the line, Sam Hurst, a creditable ride for him, ahead of Gary Birtwistle in 4th position, and Leah Toklov with a good ride there in 5th place. Remains to be seen though whether that 5th position will be enough to propel her up into the top 12 and into the qualification positions. As Johnny Lewis comes round to salute the crowd and celebrate his first race victory of the afternoon to become the 4th different race winner in the pro class in 6 races here today. And that's a demonstration of just how close things have been in terms of the performances of these riders that Johnny Lewis and James Rispoli took until Heat 26 to have their battle over that race-leading position. Lewis coming out on top then, top 2 finisher in each of his 3 rides. He'll be along with Alan Birtwistle and Aidan Collins on the front row of the final. It's Aidan Collins who topped the score charts along with Alan Birtwistle on 42 points. Johnny Lewis and Toby Hales will also have a top 4 choice of starting position. James Rispoli, Richard Mason, Sam Hurst and Gary Birtwistle are next in line to choose their starting places. Richard Roden, Tom Clements, Peter Boast and Vince Hurst are the final block of riders to choose their starting places. Obviously the riders likely to go off the furthest forward grid row that they can for the final. Alan Birtwistle already eyeing up the respective starting positions. It's a compromise between taking the normal racing line, which is the outer portion of the circuit, and then cutting across with the fastest entry speed to turn one possible. But a compromise that knowing that if you're on the outside and someone makes a good jump on the inside of you, they're going to run you wide and you stand the potential to lose several positions. So there's a lot of strategy in choosing starting positions. At the moment, it looks like they're more keen to decide amongst one another. Alan Birtwistle settling in then. Looks like he's gone for the third starting position. Where will Aidan Collins go? On the outside of Birtwistle? That's a brave decision from Aidan Collins. He's known as a fast starter in flat track terms. So Toby Hales is trying to slot himself in. Collins wants that outside. I think we've got the inside of the front row still vacant. A little bit of jostling for positions there as the riders settle themselves in. Was a nice effort from James Rispoli, who's trying to get himself onto the front row. He was the 5th qualifier, so he is stuck off the 2nd row. But it was a valiant attempt anyway. Johnny Lewis then will go off the inside of the front row. Alongside him will be Alan Birtwistle, Aidan Collins, and Toby Hales. Hales on the inside of Collins, who'll go off the very outside. So the two most recent champions of positions 2 and 4 alongside the youngster Toby Hales, and the inside start position with Johnny Lewis. Watch for potential progress from the middle row for James Rispoli, who matched Johnny Lewis's pace admirably last time out in Heat 26. See if Peter Boast can make his way through from the back row of the grid as well, as we prepare to get underway with the final at round 2 of the 2017 DTRA UK National Flat Track Championship. Alan Birtwistle makes a good break, but the fastest start is with Johnny Lewis, who bumps them all wide, and Aidan Collins gets around the outside of Alan Birtwistle as they go 3 wide, and James Rispoli comes through from the middle row up into 2nd position. At the end of the opening lap then, it'll be the number 10 out in front. Johnny Lewis leads the way, Rispoli in 2nd, Collins in 3rd. Crucially for Collins, he needs to stay ahead of Alan Birtwistle, but he's also going on the attack, trying the inside line to get up to one of the top 2 positions. If he can put another of the guest riders in between himself and Birtwistle, that will be crucial in the context of the series overall. Lewis leads on the inside, Rispoli on the outside in 2nd, Collins on the inside in 3rd, Alan Birtwistle dropping back and into the clutches of Toby Hales. Hales though bobbles coming off turn number 2. The front 5 have broken well clear. There's a separate battle further down the order led by Richard Mason. And Peter Boast is just joining the end of that trail as Rispoli goes for a big dive move down the inside of the number 10 and takes the race lead. So it's Rispoli in front now. Lewis in 2nd. There goes Collins. Collins to become the 2nd rider to pass Lewis, who repays the compliment down the inside into turn 3. Well, this was certainly worth waiting for. We've got an excellent final here, with Rispoli now leading the way through from the middle row. He's going to save his best ride of the day until last. He hasn't actually won a heat, but he looks set to win the final. So picking up the performance when it matters the most, as perhaps you'd expect from an experienced rider. Rispoli leading the way, Lewis trying to find a way past on the inside. Collins stayed with them in the early laps, but has now started to drop back, particularly off turn 2 there. Alan Birtwistle in a separate race at the moment, trying to hold off Toby Hales as we have another position change for the lead. Through goes Johnny Lewis. Lewis hits the front, Rispoli in 2nd. Well, this is about glory on the day, but glory in the context of the championship is a crucial 3rd position for Aidan Collins, who looks set to beat Alan Birtwistle for a 2nd consecutive round and further extend his series lead. Is Lewis slowing back Rispoli slightly because Collins has gained back lost ground on the 2 of them? And Aidan Collins is now going after 2nd position. These would be valuable extra points in the context of the championship overall. He just can't afford to get backed into the path of Alan Birtwistle, who at the moment is dropping back. Birtwistle hasn't been able to quite recapture that 2016 form when he was dominant on the opening laps of each of the finals. A 2nd consecutive defeat to Aidan Collins will not do his confidence any good at all. Collins in line for the podium as they come into the final lap. And now is the moment to try and strike. Rispoli on the tail of Lewis, the leader. Collins up in third position, waiting for an opportunity to come through. He's dropped back slightly off turn number 2. The leaders aren't quite going to get to the back markers, which saves the race from changing too much as they come out of the final turn. One-hand celebration. Johnny Lewis wins round 2 of the 2017 DTRA UK National Flat Track Championship. And the 2 invited wildcards finish in the top 2 positions. But crucially, in the context of the series overall, it's Aidan Collins who makes the jump on Alan Birtwistle. And Birtwistle didn't have the pace to live with Collins, who takes third position. He was more concerned for the majority of that race with holding off Toby Hales, the Heat 22 winner, who managed to get right on his tail and give him a bit of a hard time. Once again, we're going to go straight into the podium celebrations and get the riders parked up and receiving their awards. And what a good final that was. It was a reprise of heat number 26, really. Johnny Lewis and James Rispoli fighting over that race-leading position, just as they did in heat 26. On a couple of occasions, Collins burst her up the inside. One particular notable moment coming off turn number 2, it all got very tight and position changes for second place as Rispoli and Collins congratulate one another on the circuit and make their way towards the Maxxis podium for the top 3 to receive their position boards and their honours here this afternoon. First up then, he had a couple of good goes at getting through to second position, and while the other 2 fought one another, Aidan Collins moving through on a couple of occasions. In the end, he can only manage third position, but that's great news for his championship. It's Aidan Collins. As I said, good news for his series overall. He had a 4-point buffer to Alan Birtwistle after the opening round of the season, and he has extended that now to 6 points. So a good result for Aidan Collins, who finishes third. Next up then, in second position rather, just losing out, the 2 were swapping and changing throughout, but second place goes the way of James Rispoli. And he is going to have to make some room between himself and Aidan Collins, because unfortunately it's not top spot this time for him. Your winner after an enticing fight, and twice these 2 battled. They were fighting over the lead in heat 26. They were doing so again in the final, coming out victorious on both occasions. 2 race victories when it mattered the most in the latter stage of the event. Your winner, Johnny Lewis. So Lewis does the double, victorious in the hooligans. Also the winner at round 2 of the 2017 DTRA UK National Flat Track Championship. And here they received their accolades. Great result for Collins in the context of the championship. Another 2 points gained, and it's time for the champagne. And well, Johnny Lewis wasn't as fast at chasing his rivals on the podium as he was on track, because they all suitably managed to escape. Aidan Collins has had so many bottles of champagne in this series down the years. I hope he's got a wine cellar with them all stacked up somewhere. On this occasion, it was only third position for him, but he maintains that series lead, and he will renew that rivalry with cash on the line tomorrow afternoon.